The job cuts in tech land are piling up, as companies that led the 10-year bull market adapt to a new reality. Microsoft said Wednesday that it's letting go of 10,000 employees, which will reduce the company's headcount by less than 5%. Amazon also began a fresh round of job cuts that are expected to eliminate more than 18,000 employees and become the largest workforce reduction in the retailer's 28-year history. The layoffs come in a period of slowing growth, higher interest rates to battle inflation, and fears of a possible recession next year. Here are some of the major cuts in the tech industry so far. All numbers are approximations based on filings, public statements, and media reports. Microsoft, 10,000 jobs cut. Microsoft is reducing 10,000 workers through March 31st as the software maker braces for slower revenue growth. The company also is taking a $1.2 billion charge. I'm confident that Microsoft will emerge from this stronger and more competitive, CEO Satya Nadella announced in a memo to employees that was posted on the company website Wednesday. Some employees will find out this week if they're losing their jobs, he wrote. Amazon, 18,000 jobs cut. Earlier this month, Amazon CEO Andy Jassy said the company was planning to lay off more than 18,000 employees, primarily in its human resources and stores divisions. It came after Amazon said in November it was looking to cut staff, including in its devices and recruiting organizations. CNBC reported at the time that the company was looking to lay off about 10,000 employees. Amazon went on a hiring spree during the COVID-19 pandemic. The company's global workforce swelled to more than 1.6 million by the end of 2021, up from 798,000 in the fourth quarter of 2019. Alphabet, Verily, 230 jobs cut. Google parent company Alphabet had largely avoided layoffs until January, when it cut 15% of employees from Verily, its health sciences division. Google itself has not undertaken any significant layoffs as of January 18, but employees are increasingly growing worried that the axe may soon fall. Crypto.com, 500 jobs cut. Crypto.com announced plans to lay off 20% of its workforce January 13. The company had 2,450 employees, according to PitchBook data, suggesting around 490 employees were laid off. CEO Chris Mashalek said in a blog post that the crypto exchange grew ambitiously, but was unable to weather the collapse of Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto empire FTX without the further cuts. All impacted personnel have already been notified, Mashalek said in a post. Coinbase, 2,000 jobs cut. On January 10, Coinbase announced plans to cut about a fifth of its workforce as it looks to preserve cash during the crypto market downturn. The exchange plans to cut 950 jobs, according to a blog post. Coinbase, which had roughly 4,700 employees as of the end of September, had already slashed 18% of its workforce in June, saying it needed to manage costs after growing too quickly during the bull market. With perfect hindsight, looking back, we should have done more, CEO Brian Armstrong told CNBC in a phone interview at the time. The best you can do is react quickly once information becomes available, and that's what we are doing in this case. Salesforce, 7,000 jobs cut. Salesforce is cutting 10% of its personnel and reducing some office space as part of a restructuring plan, the company announced January 4. It employed more than 79,000 workers as of December. In a letter to employees, co-CEO Mark Benioff said customers have been more measured in their purchasing decisions given the challenging macroeconomic environment, which led Salesforce to make the very difficult decision to lay off workers. Salesforce said it will record charges of $1 billion to $1.4 billion related to the headcount reductions, and $450 million to $650 million related to the office space reductions. Meta, 11,000 jobs cut. Facebook parent Meta announced its most significant round of layoffs ever in November. The company said it plans to eliminate 13% of its staff, which amounts to more than 11,000 employees. Meta's disappointing guidance for the fourth quarter of 2022 wiped out 1/4 of the company's market cap and pushed the stock to its lowest level since 2016. The tech giant's cuts come after it expanded headcount by about 60% during the pandemic. The business has been hurt by competition from rivals such as TikTok, a broad slowdown in online ad spending, and challenges from Apple's iOS changes. Twitter, 3,700 jobs cut. Shortly after closing his $44 billion purchase of Twitter in late October, new owner Elon Musk cut around 3,700 Twitter employees, according to internal communications viewed by CNBC. That's about half the staff. Since then, significantly more employees have quit after Musk changed some policies around working from home and wrote that he expected all employees to commit to a hardcore work environment. In a tweet on November 4, Musk said there was no choice but to lay off employees as the company was losing $4 million per day. Lyft, 700 jobs cut. Lyft announced in November that it cut 13% of its staff, or about 700 jobs. In a letter to employees, CEO Logan Green and President John Zimmer pointed to a probable recession sometime in the next year and rising ride-share insurance costs. For laid-off workers, the ride-hailing company promised 10 weeks of pay, healthcare coverage through the end of April, accelerated equity vesting for the November 20 vesting date, and recruiting assistance. Workers who had been at the company for more than 4 years will get an extra 4 weeks of pay, they added. Stripe, 1,100 jobs cut. Online payments giant Stripe announced plans to lay off roughly 14% of its staff, which amounts to about 1,100 employees, in November. CEO Patrick Collison wrote in a memo to staff that the cuts were necessary amid rising inflation, fears of a looming recession, higher interest rates, energy shocks, tighter investment budgets, and sparser startup funding. Taken together, these factors signal that 2022 represents the beginning of a different economic climate, he said.
Stripe was valued at $95 billion last year, and reportedly lowered its internal valuation to $74 billion in July. Shopify, 1,000 jobs cut. In July, Shopify announced it laid off 1,000 employees, which equals 10% of its global workforce.
In a memo to staff, CEO Toby Litke acknowledged he had misjudged how long the pandemic-driven e-commerce boom would last, and said the company is being hit by a broader pullback in online spending. Its stock price is down 78% in 2022. Netflix, 450 jobs cut. Netflix announced 2 rounds of layoffs. In May, the streaming service eliminated 150 jobs after the company reported its first subscriber loss in a decade. In late June, it announced another 300 layoffs. In a statement to employees, Netflix said, "While we continue to invest significantly in the business, we made these adjustments so that our costs are growing in line with our slower revenue growth." Snap, 1,000 jobs cut. In late August, Snap announced it laid off 20% of its workforce, which equates to over 1,000 employees. Snap CEO Evan Spiegel told employees in a memo that the company needs to restructure its business to deal with its financial challenges. He said the company's quarterly year-over-year revenue growth rate of 8% is well below what we were expecting earlier this year. Robinhood, 1,100 jobs cut. Retail brokerage firm Robinhood slashed 23% of its staff in August, after cutting 9% of its workforce in April. Based on public filings and reports, that amounts to more than 1,100 employees. Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev blamed deterioration of the macro environment, with inflation at 40-year highs accompanied by a broad crypto market crash. Tesla, 6,000 jobs cut. In June, Tesla CEO Elon Musk wrote in an email to all employees that the company was cutting 10% of salaried workers. The Wall Street Journal estimated the reductions would affect about 6,000 employees, based on public filings. Tesla will be reducing salaried headcount by 10% as we have become overstaffed in many areas, Musk wrote. Note this does not apply to anyone actually building cars, battery packs, or installing solar. Hourly headcount will increase.